Hello everyone, good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining us for our NZX Retail Investor webinar. It's great to have everyone here with us this afternoon, and I'd like to introduce to you our two speakers today. First up, we will have Asantha Wijeratne, the co-founder and CEO of PaySauce. So PaySauce is a fintech company that offers cloud-based payroll solutions to small and medium businesses. Asantha co-founded PaySauce in 2015 to bring a fresh approach to small business technology and to revolutionise the way that employers pay, manage and support staff. So welcome, Asantha.
Thanks, Erin.
Thank you, Asantha. We'll have a 15-minute presentation from Asantha first, and then we will move across to Elliot Cooper, who is the co-founder and CEO of Enprise Group. Enprise is an investment company that operates in the high-tech sector, and Elliot has a background as a qualified accountant with extensive experience in the fintech space. So welcome, Elliot.
Thank you.
Okay, so Asantha, over to you. We're looking forward to your presentation, and at the end of it, we will move to question time. So if you are an attendee on the webinar, there is a chat function where you can put the questions for the team, and we'll get to those at the end of each presentation. And feel free to use that. We're hoping for some good questions. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay, thanks everyone for joining in. Just a little bit of background. We listed in December 2018. Troy, who's my co-founder, and I have a deep domain experience from our past in the whole payroll space. I was the founder of a company called Smart Payroll, which I exited in December 2013, and I built that from scratch to being the largest SME payroll solution in New Zealand. From there, we decided that there was still a significant opportunity for someone to completely change the whole payroll space. We took that and started in 2015. And that opportunity is to eliminate the friction that currently exists between employers and employees. So payroll has generally stuck to calculating things accurately and then enabling a business to pay that out, but it went no further. So things like timesheeting solutions, rostering solutions, light HR solutions all sat around the payroll solution and look to poke data essentially into the payroll solution, which is not the most ideal and efficient way of doing it. The market that we see is solving the compliance and reporting component for employers, and more importantly, adding value to the employees as well. So I'll talk a bit about that later in this presentation as to what we've done on that. In our initial period, we focused on farming, and we chose that because we discovered that there was a very specific compliance-related issue that we could solve elegantly, and that has meant over the last 3 to 4 years, we've gone from no presence in farming to being in 1 in 5 dairy farms that employ staff. So we've now become the single dominant provider of payroll to the New Zealand dairy farming sector. And we were able to do that because we understood exactly how to provide a solution that enabled farmers to be compliant, particularly with the minimum wage legislation. So the bottom line was that we are looking to provide a solution that adds value, back it up with great customer experience and support. And that's key. I mean, we're used to getting a cab or getting an Uber ride with a couple of clicks on a smartphone. But when it comes to payroll software, we're making them, business owners, go to a desktop or look at small fine print. How can we provide an experience that is similar to what we see on our day-to-day life? And that creates raving fans. So while we have no sales force out there, we are picking up significant client numbers who get in touch directly. So all our clients find us and sign up with us online rather than relying on a dedicated sales team. With an average annual revenue of $600 to $700 per site, it doesn't pay for us to have a sales team out there going down every farmer's drive to look to bring them on board or to go visit every single business. The highlight of our work with farming has been the relationship we have with Zero and with Figured on an initiative called Zero for Farming, where we're looking to make a difference to farmers across the country by making things easier for them. One of the most significant developments in our evolution is something that we completed last month, which was the launch of the BNZ Pay Now solution. So that's the first time ever a payroll solution enabled a third party, in this case BNZ, to advance funds to make up the earned wage access. So there's a problem that exists in today's workforce where, because of the pay cycle, employees run out of money. If there's an emergency, they are unable to meet that. So there is an opportunity for them to be preyed upon by payday lenders, which is the most corrosive form of lending you could possibly imagine. That leads them down a path that puts a lot of emotional pressure on employees. And along with BNZ, we look to make a difference by providing earned wage access. So this is not a loan. This is allowing an employee to access money that they have already earned, and on payday that is reversed back. There is no burden on the employer. This is a relationship that we have facilitated between the funding provider, which in this case is BNZ, and the employee. So for the first time, we've expanded our catchment of those who we serve from the roughly 3,500 employers to the 18,000 employees as an addition. So our addressable market has significantly increased. And so we're looking at, the question is, why would PaySauce enter into a market like this where there is no revenue generated? There are a number of answers to that. First, it's the right thing to do because there's a societal problem in individuals being captured by payday lenders, and that causing significant harm to individuals and families. Second, it allows us to reach the employees independent of the employer. So there is a new market for us. And it is now up to us as to how we monetize that opportunity. Three, it creates the ability for employees to access their earned wages without having to wait for the end of the pay period, which then becomes an employee benefit an employer can provide them. So that allows us to migrate from being just another payroll company to being a true fintech, because we take care of moving all of the funds from the BNZ to the employee and then back to the BNZ. So that for us, that is really exciting. It's never been done before where a payroll was able to provide a benefit to an employee directly without having to go via the employer. It's a significant opportunity, we think, and we're quite heartened by the market response we've had. We've had large employers who have significant employees close to minimum wage or at that bottom end that are more susceptible to payday lending look at and consider whether they should use PaySauce. So that has become a marketing opportunity for us as well. So if I flick to the slides, Alan, I'll just talk a little bit about the results for the last quarter. Again, as a company, in order to keep the market informed, we've took the decision that we'll provide quarterly updates, and the last quarter update is up there. And as you can see, for the 3,377 customers we had, there's roughly 18,000 employees in that. One of the key takeaways from last quarter's results were, in the comparative quarter, we had 13% of our income from interest earned on the funds we held. So the two sources of revenue we have is direct revenue from the customer, and the second is the interest revenue we earn on the float. So the float revenue as a percentage of income dropped from 13% last year to 6% this year, so which is significant, and that is a factor of the overall OCR rate dropping over time. So if you can switch to the second slide, you can see the recurring revenue numbers for us. And you will see that there's a dip in the last quarter, and that is a direct result of the reduction in the interest income we earned. So if you look at purely the subscription revenue we generated in that quarter, we are still significantly higher than the comparative quarter last year. The other thing we've done is we've changed our pricing structure. We've gone to a 3-tier pricing structure that allows us to compete aggressively in the bottom end by providing a payroll for around $10 to $15 a month. We've got a standard product offering, and we've offered a premium solution, which now has the latest add-on we've built, which is rostering. And we believe that going forward, that'll allow us to grow our revenue base in the coming quarters. That is very quickly the update from us, and I'm happy to take some questions that Sarah might already have.
Great, thank you so much, Asantha. Great update, and you do have quite a few questions coming through here on the chat, so let's get to some of those. So the first question is, what is the publicity plan for PaySauce? You have a great product that helps employees as well as employers in steady growth. I feel PaySauce needs to get the message out to the masses that they are here and ready to take the world's pay pains away.
Yeah, that's a really good question. That is something that that we're doing. So, for example, with the launch of the BNZ Pay Now, we had a huge amount of interest both locally and globally in what we're doing, and that allowed us to showcase. So we're looking at how can we fix a business problem in the wider community, and that payroll is a boring thing. So how do we break free of that? How do we make the humanness of what we're doing, and how do we relate to that? Is definitely the strategy that we are following.
Thank you. Another question is actually around the crypto world. So the question is, when will the payment solutions start accepting Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies for payment? What is being done to ready for that eventuality by your company?
Yeah, we're looking at that whole piece with interest. One of the things that we see that could potentially have a use for us is around the blockchain for providing secure contracts, and that is an area that we're looking at, because we already provide employment contracts to employers and employees. So that's one of the first areas and first things where we could apply something like blockchain to ensure the integrity of the contract. So one thing I missed on your previous question was, by providing a solution to the employees get to know about PaySauce and then advocate for PaySauce within their new employer they might move to. So again, that's a strategy that we are following aggressively. Something we learned from people like Slack, where the greatest advocates of Slack are employees in an organization that are using Slack privately, and then will bring the organization on board. And I think there's a lot to be learned from that.
So employment churn is really interesting for you.
Yep.
Couple more questions. Given the company's plan was to establish business in Ireland as its next step, but there was already a UK company called WageStream doing similar things, do you think you will get hot competition there?
WageStream is a standalone solution that is not a payroll provider. So if you're using WageStream, you need an app that integrates both with the timesheet solution and with the rostering solution that then talks to the payroll solution. So it is a more complicated way of solving the problem. The opportunity we saw in Ireland, and we still see, is to provide an end-to-end payroll solution, and we still believe that that opportunity still exists.
Okay, thank you. Another question, what are your partnership plans? For example, Sharesies, so that employees can allocate money directly from their pay.
That's, again, as part of our strategy of making the life of the employees easier, helping them manage their payments in how they fund their KiwiSaver or the investment plans is definitely front of mind for us. Watch this space.
Okay, sounds interesting. Another question is a little bit more data driven. So for PaySauce, potentially larger customers, are they typically reviewing multiple systems pre-purchase, such as Xero payroll, MYOB, for example? And what is your rough sales success percentage? You know, what percentage of opportunities are you winning?
Look, the beauty of the small end of the market is that the person who's looking for a solution will make a decision really quickly. We're not going to RFPs, or there's no long sales cycle. So we pick up clients pretty quickly. They've made up their mind. Our job is to provide enough information on the website for them to make an informed decision. A lot of our clients are driven by either word of mouth, talking to their friend, neighbor who's already using it and having a great experience, or talking to the accounting firm who have got clients using our solution who can recommend it. That has been our strategy.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Asantha. You've given us a lot to think about there, and thank you for being so forthcoming in your update and your question and answer time. We did have a few more questions that we didn't get time to get to. So for those people that didn't have their question answered, please do email it through to us, and we'll make sure that they get connected with you to have a further discussion. And thanks again for joining us today, and we'll move on to Enprise.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right, all the best. Thanks, Asantha.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to our second presenter today. Welcome, Elliot. As I mentioned before, Elliot is the co-founder and CEO of Enprise Group, and so we're looking forward to hearing your presentation.
Thank you, Sarah. Just to clarify, which screen have I got up?
We
can see the NZX Retail Investor Series screen. Great, I've got the right one.
Just
cool.
Duplicate it. Yep.
Excellent. So you've got just that screen, not the next one.
Oh no, we've got the presentation slide, so you'll need to duplicate it. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. Let's check that. Try that one. There we go. So I wanted to clarify. Okay. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. It's quite an honour to be here, actually, and talk to you guys about what's next, what we're doing. So, as you can tell, we've multiple award-winning type business with MYOB in particular, which is sort of where we started. Well, we actually started before that. It was before MYOB acquired what was a New Zealand business called XNet, which some of us were involved in before it was bought by Solution 6. And then going on from that to MYOB. So what is Enprise? Enprise has evolved from that into a high-tech software and services investment business. So what does that actually mean? It means to you guys that we provide productivity tools and improvements for our customers, and we grow on the back of that success. Our customers successful, so are we. We look for synergistic businesses that tie into what we've already got, so we can accelerate their growth in the market. For example, to give you an idea, in the SME business, we've got our Enterprise Solutions division, which is based on the MYOB products, and the Vodacom business have an interlocking. They target similar customers. We've got a lot of customers that are the same there. And then we've got the managed service provider market, which Datagate and iSell are quite heavily interlocked in that space, and they're actually helping each other out in terms of introductions into different markets. For example, iSell's beta customer in the US is actually an existing Datagate customer, and iSell's success in the UK, Datagate is now piggybacking on that to enter that market. just to give you a bit of a quick look, some of you would have already seen this in terms of our annual results. This was actually in the director's report, and the reason it was in the director's report was to give you a like-for-like comparison on the numbers, because obviously with iCell's integration and Datagate's, and Kilimanjaro's integration into Enprise were after December 19. So we looked for a like-for-like comparison as if they were consolidated in the same period. Obviously, December 19 had the COVID impact in it, which of course 19 did not. So that's part of the reason why there was a slight drop in revenue. However, on a normalised basis, with the efficiencies that we're gaining by combining Enterprise Solutions and Kilimanjaro Consulting, we're getting a gain in terms of eliminating those costs and developing those efficiencies. In terms of the Enterprise division, 23% of that revenue is recurring. That's annual license fees and commissions and things like that. 17% of it is contract revenue, which is our support contracts with those customers, our EXO hosted contracts. And then we've got 60% of it, which is new licenses and professional services, which we have to go and earn every year. From a geographic split, the New Zealand revenue is down a little bit on what it was, but this year we've got a 30-70 split between New Zealand and Australia in that current period. This business at the moment is primarily focused on the MYOB Enterprise software, which combines Exonet, another New Zealand business called Greentree, and what they call MYOB Advanced, which is based on a US product called Acumatica, which is a cloud SaaS offering. So we're evolving there with our customers into the cloud through our hosting offering and through the new MYOB Advanced product. This division has approximately 1,250 customers, so it's quite spread. There's not confined to tied into one particular customer in terms of its revenue source. It's quite well spread. It's well spread in terms of customers, and it's well spread in terms of what those customers do. For example, you know, with the COVID scenario and the hit to the tourism businesses, we weren't necessarily directly impacted, but some of our revenue was impacted as being second or third in the chain. However, as you can see, we've ridden it out pretty well. And so going on from that, the business is number one in New Zealand and number one in Australia in terms of licenses sold for MYOB in the EXO space. And in New Zealand, we're actually number one in the advanced space for the last couple of years as well. Our hosting revenue crossed $1 million in contracted revenue in the last quarter. And we've got 62 customers on that and growing. We're looking for both organic and inorganic growth in this space. And so we'll look to take on from there. Our Kilimanjaro Consulting business in Australia is one of 4 diamond partners with MYOB, and Enprise Solutions in New Zealand is a platinum partner for both Exonet and Advanced, and it's in fact the only platinum partner that MYOB have based on their criteria in New Zealand for MYOB Advanced. And that's to do with sales and number of customers and case studies, etc. In fact, the case studies, you can refer to the websites down the bottom there of Kilimanjaro and Enprise, and you can see the spread of customers, some of the case studies, and some of those customers are in fact also listed companies like us. Talking about some of the SaaS businesses and the growth side of things that you're exposed to if you invest in Enprise is the likes of iCell, and their product is IT Quota, and their annualized recurring revenue is currently $843,000. We've grown 45% up in customers in the last 12 months. IT Quota is a configure price quote software. We've still got some legacy customers on the old desktop software to convert, and we're working hard on developing those bits of functionality into the software so that those customers can also convert. It's primarily based, those customers are primarily held back at the moment due to e-commerce functionality that existed in their desktop software that we haven't quite yet gotten to the cloud software, but it's very close. And as I described before, IT Quota is about to enter the US market. We've got our first beta site there, which is in fact a Datagate customer and was introduced by Datagate. So we're looking forward to getting on with that. In the UK, as I described about our penetration into the UK, we started the UK in late February 2020, which proved to be a challenge in itself, obviously, but we went from 0 customers to 54 customers there now and growing strongly. The business out there is currently being driven by Nick Paul, who's one of our directors, and we're looking forward to having the same success in the US that we've had in the UK. One of our other investees that we used to own 100% of, but we've since had other angel groups and the NZ government via the VIF involved in this. And in the last 12 months, the annualised recurring revenue for Datagate has now hit 1.5 million, which is up 41% on a year ago. They've got 136 customers now, which was up 74%, and they've established a reseller model and currently got 5 resellers. So the number of customers isn't going up, but the growth of the annualized recurring revenue will, as those resellers start to bring their customers on board. Mark Lovies, who founded Enprise with me, and who was also the original developer of Exonet, he's driving this business, and he moved to Vancouver to drive the US market. The US market, we found, has over 100,000 MSPs in it, which was why it was an exciting place to go. And the revenue there in the US is up 133% in the last 12 months. It is now Datagate's biggest market worldwide. 82% of Datagate's revenue now is offshore, outside of New Zealand. When we started, it was just NZ, and we started with just 2 customers here, and it grew from there. Datagate can, in fact, bill any consumption type product. They have got a power company and a water company that use it. However, they're focused on telco just to keep a focus on that market, which is big enough for us to deal with at the moment. The constraint here really is purely onboarding. You know, if we can get them on board faster, they will grow faster. There's a very low customer churn to date. So we're very excited about where this is going to go. And the last company that Enprise is currently invested in, we have a small investment in Vodacom, which is a VoIP software and telecommunications provider. It's a very profitable business. It's doing very well. They've just developed a new software which will enable them to go international. The current product is really only been sold in ANZ. It hasn't been sold outside that space. And until we got the new product out, they weren't going to attack an international market from a point of weakness, potentially without a proper cloud solution. That software is now being beta tested. It's got 30 odd customers live on it, and the production platform is currently being implemented. So, we're looking forward to seeing where that can go on an international basis as well. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure talking to you, and I'll take the questions.
Okay, thanks, Elliot. That was an awesome update and a very insightful presentation. So thank you so much. We do have some good questions, and I think this first one is a really good table setting question, and it is, why does your business exist? Who are your competitors, and what advantages do you have over them?
Why do we exist? Well, originally we started as I said, as we were actually part of Exonet originally as the enterprise division, and we took on the bigger customers that the other partners couldn't do, really. So we ended up at the bigger end of the market. This is above the Xeros, above the MYOBs. It's, as I said, we've got some pretty serious players in that part of the business. In terms of listed companies, we compete with Datacom, for example. Would be one that a lot of New Zealanders would know as one of our competitors. However, we've evolved from that in that we started taking on and combining synergistic businesses that we could help accelerate. So that's where we see we're going. We think we can bring to the table a lot of skills. We've got quite a diverse board that can bring things to the table that can help these businesses accelerate. And with our overseas connections, we can, as you can see, we've taken a lot of these businesses that were New Zealand-based businesses and introduced them to international markets. That's another thing we can bring to the table that a lot of other people can't.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Elliot. The next question is, keen investors see tech as an intensely competitive industry with literally no borders. What are your early warning performance and business failure or failing indicators in your dashboard? Right.
Obviously, the main KPIs, like any SaaS business, you've got customers, user count, and ARR. Those are your main drivers if you're looking at the top line with those SaaS businesses. And if those aren't still on climbing as you expect them to, that's your early warning. In terms of competitors, each of our businesses have competitors, but they're slightly different to what we're offering. So, for example, we know iSell, for example, has a competitor that was called, in Australia, was called Glue. Glue just got sold for $10 million to Autotask. So, you know, but we provide far more functionality than they do. And what we do is at the moment, we're integrated to Autotask, we're integrated to ConnectWise. We're developing those connections with the players that sit underneath in that MSP space. Datagate has a very strong integration with ConnectWise as well.
Okay, thank you. And then the last question that we've got here is, do you have a plan to keep expanding in the USA given the exceptional growth that you have received? Are there particular markets or businesses that you are targeting which will help bring success over the longer term?
Absolutely. As I said, we've identified in terms of the data that we've got, there's over 100,000 MSPs in the US. You can see by the growth that I described in Datagate, they're up 133% in the US this year. We're just getting everything in place to bring iSell to the US. And, you know, if we do that right, given the knowledge that we've established with Datagate, we hope to see the same growth, or we expect to.
Great. That's it for the questions, but okay. Really good engagement there, and great presentation from you. So thank you everyone so much for joining us this afternoon, and thank you very much for Santha and Elliot for their very good presentations, and we hope to see you back again for our Retail Investor webinar next month.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Elliot. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.